where you need to create mailing labels or envelopes to send things to your students, such as certificates or rewards. This is a quick way in Word to create mailing labels or envelopes. I'm going to demonstrate envelopes today. What I start with is an Excel document with my class list on it. You can either create a list that is only containing the names of the students that you're going to send something to, or you can create a mailing labels list in Excel that you use every month and then you edit it as I'm going to show you in just a moment. Either way is fine. I chose to create an October list for those students that had green progress in October, and that's all that's here. It's just an extra step later or an extra step now. It doesn't really make much difference. So now I have this list, which in the mail merge process is called my data source. So I'm going to get rid of that for a second. Actually, I'm going to not get rid of it that way. I'm going to get rid of it that way. So now I have my data source. I just go into Word, and the easiest way to do this is to go into Word and select Mailings, and then under Mail Merge, Start Mail Merge I should say, you're going to go all the way down to the Mail Merge wizard. This is great because it gives you step-by-step of how to do this. For our purposes, I'm going to show you how to do envelopes because I like having the return address and the mailing address all print out at once. It just saves a step. Labels would be very similar to this. So I'm choosing envelopes, and then I'm going to, down here it lists the steps with the hyperlinks of what you're going to do next. So I would say next. And then I'm going to select my envelope options. If you selected the next step, it would prompt you to do this anyway. They just want to make sure that you have this kind of envelope, size 10, which is a normal sized envelope, and that you want it to look like this. So you click OK, and now it's showing you your envelope. I've done this before and set the default for my return address. You would have done that in envelope options. Let me go back to it. You would change, oh, pardon me, that's not correct. It's the next step. So my return address label is already there. I just printed it in there, and actually it asked me, do you want to just save this to always be the return address label that you use? And I said yes, so it just automatically goes there. So now the next step is to select recipients. Okay, and I'm going to browse for that document that I saved, and there it is right there, class address. So I'm going to open that one. I'm going to select Microsoft Excel Worksheets XLS, which is the second choice. That's the Excel version that we have. And you'll know you did it correctly if it asks you if you want the entire spreadsheet. And because I created a spreadsheet specifically for this use, I am going to select the entire spreadsheet. If you had created a spreadsheet that had erroneous information on it, you could go through and get rid of that. It would ask you which fields do you want to get rid of, but I'm going to use the whole thing. So here's my spreadsheet with all of the names checked, and what it's telling me is everybody that has a check by their name is going to get a label printed, which is great because I had only selected those students with green progress in math in my Excel spreadsheet. If you had selected your whole class and you're just editing your class list monthly to select the students that you want to send a certificate to, this is where you would do it. And so you would make sure this is alphabetical, so it was easy for you to view, which it is, but if it's not, this is where you do it, just like you do in any Excel spreadsheet. But they're alphabetical, and you would just go unselect by clicking on the box. That unselects a student. But as I said, I want to send it to all of these students. However, because we have families, I want to make sure I don't print 3 envelopes if I'm sending 3 certificates to one household. Saves on stamps, saves on envelopes, ink. So there's this feature called Find Duplicates. When you select it, it will list duplicates based on their address, city, and zip code, not just their name. So it's matching all the fields. So for my purposes, in my list, both of these students would have an envelope printed, and I don't need that because they live in the same household. So I would unselect all but one of these duplicates that it has identified for me. Okay, so scroll down to make sure you see all of them. And then I would click OK. Now I'm only having one envelope going per household. Great, okay. Now I'm going to arrange my envelope because I've done all these other things. But I'll point out that if you think you've made a mistake, oh, I unselected somebody I didn't mean to, you can always go back. You can go all the way back to the beginning if you need to. You just keep hitting previous. But I'm good, so I'm going to do arrange my envelope. Okay, now I'm going to go over here to the envelope and click to make sure I have this address block come up. This little blue dotted address block. And then I'm going to select address block. Now, what kind of address? Here's a really important thing you need to remember to do, because otherwise you're going to get a weird address possibly. This match fields is important because for some reason sometimes it doesn't recognize that last means last name. And so I would make sure the first name, I'm calling it first in my spreadsheet. The last name, I'm calling it last in my spreadsheet, etc. Address, city, zip code. And you can say, remember this matching for this set of data sources on this computer. And I would choose that because then you'll never have to do this again. So you would click OK. Now that you've matched the fields, you can go over here and select, okay, what do I want this to look like? And there's many choices, as you can see. But because I'm sending things by family, I'm going to choose the option, the Randall family. And then you'll see it changes here. So the Atkinson family is going to get something from me. And that is great because then the 3 certificates I send, it's not one student's name with the other student's things in it. So then I would click OK. And now it's here, and it's great. So I want to see what it looks like. Address block means we're going to use your data source that you've given us, and each envelope is going to contain a different address. So here it says the Atkinson family, Jefferson Avenue, Ogden, etc. This is what my envelopes are going to look like. I'm totally satisfied with this. I would click complete the merge. But again, you can go back. If there's something wrong, amiss, you can go back and fix it. Complete the merge. And then I'm ready to print. So I would click print, and then notice how you feed the envelopes into the printer. There should be a little icon on the tray of the lower tray of the printer that shows you how to feed those envelopes. Unfortunately, you can't do, if you're doing 20, you can't do 20 at once. You kind of have to keep an eye on it and you know, start feeding them 10 or so at a time, but it really cuts down dramatically on the amount of time you would spend addressing envelopes and making sure that your return address label is on there as well. So that is how you create return address labels.